Good morning, everyone. Today we are looking at the structure of our DNA. So just to recap what we've looked at before, we have our chromosomes that are found within our nucleus of all our cells in our body. And they carry an enormous amount of information in the form of our DNA. So we've all heard of DNA, and it's individual for every person, unless you're identical twins. It's individual for each person. And along those strands of DNA, we have our genes that code for certain traits. So these DNA molecules can be quite long, and the number of genes that code for each trait can also vary. We might have a gene that is quite small and might only have 3 or 4 base pairs, and we might have others that are hundreds. And it controls the way, or the instructions for the way our body produces the things we need to function. So that might be our hair color, our eyes, the way our eyes are working, and so forth. So to get started, we are looking here at just a brief breakdown. So like I said before, the DNA carries the information that determines your trait. So one gene might be eye color, another hair color, another your blood type, and so on. It may also carry those genetic diseases that might mean that you are unable to process and remove the mucus or produce too much mucus in the case of cystic fibrosis or so on. So that also is determined by your DNA. So let's have a look just to bring this down and make it a little bit more, I suppose, clear about where things are. So we do have our cell. In every cells, we have our nucleus here, and inside our nucleus is where our DNA is found. And it's found on these chromosomes that are in here. So within here, we have our chromosomes. If we were to unwind that and magnify that, we would see, yep, here are our chromosomes. And then zoom in a little bit further, and this is the structure of our DNA. It's a double helix structure, so like a rope ladder that's twisted. These are the backbone, and these are our nitrogenous bases that make up our rungs. So let's have a look at that in a little bit more detail. So DNA structure this is our backbone, and this is our bases that make up our rungs. So the backbone is made up of a phosphate and a sugar, and our bases can be rungs can be made up of any one of 4 bases in any order. Those bases are A, T, C, or G, and we'll look at that in a little bit further on what they are. So here we have that same unit just over here, where we have a phosphate, a sugar, which then joins a base. And you can see that there's repeated units. This would be one rung of one back part of the backbone of the ladder. This is another, and they pair up here. Now, this model obviously has some limitations in that it looks like these are all the same, whereas in actual fact it is different. And we can see that just over here. Base A, or adenine, only ever matches up with base T or thymine. And base C only ever matches up with base G, so cytosine matching up with guanine. And one way I remember it is adenine and thymine are all made up of straight lines, whereas cytosine and guanine, to make the letters C and G, are curved. So that helps you always remember which one pairs with which. And so you could see here the guanine, say for example, would have, I suppose, almost like a locking key or a chemical reaction that enables it, types of bonding to enable it to join to its counterpart on the other side. But more simplified, we would liken it like a lock and key. It is only suitable to its matching pair. So adenine is only suitable to pair with thymine. And it's these bases, these rungs of the ladder, which are unique to us, and it provides the genetic code which tells our body what to produce to make us what. the bases in the steps of the ladder attached to the sugar on the backbone that keeps things in place. So here you can see this a little bit more simply, where again we've got those 4 bases. Those 4 bases are what make up our whole genetic code. So imagine it's like reading a book that tells you a story, but we've only got 4 letters. Those 4 letters are repeated in a variety of different orders to give us or give the body the instructions on what to make. So here you can see when I talk about that lock and key kind of thing, this is a curved ending and the T slots straight in. A G wouldn't fit there nice and neatly, so it doesn't join in. Now, obviously, it's not that simple, but at the level we're at, all we're needing to know is A does match with T. Here, G and C. Here, you can see that the G's on this rung, or on this back part of the backbone now, and the C matches up. And we can have a doubling up. Those letters can occur in any combination. And when combined, it forms this double helix that we talked about in a previous lesson where we looked at Rosalind Franklin using her X-ray diffraction, found that the helix, the DNA molecule, it was actually a double helix that then Watson and Crick used without her permission to put forward their structure of the DNA, which wasn't necessarily an ethical decision without acknowledging her work. That was later acknowledged, but long after her death. So there is a Word document that has these questions. Alternatively, you can just pause this video and answer them here. And that comes from the work that we've just done. So the next activity I'm going to get you to do is make a model of DNA. Now, this is where you can inspire that artist inside of you and dig deep into your creativity to see what you can come up with. I have provided a paper template for those of you that may be creatively challenged. And that's just only one method that you can use. There, if you look online, there's so many paper models you can use, some using origami. I'd love to see someone have a go and use that. So once you're done, take a photo of your model, label it, and label it with the terms phosphate, sugar, adenine, thymine, cytosine, guanine. This is the backbone, this is the nitrogenous bases. Take that photo and upload it onto Compass. But alternatively, you can use some other things. This is where your creativity comes in. You might use food and skewers. I'll show you some examples. Beads and wire, rocks, pebbles. Someone I saw use their hose at home and twisted it up and then had the bases in between, or their little trolley in their backyard that houses their washing baskets. World's your oyster. So get outside, have a look around, see what you can find. Alternatively, you might be able to convince mum, dad, or someone who's going down to the shops to purchase you some lollies, because of course it's for your science work. So here we go, and looking at some of these examples that people have done. Some people have used their Lego that they've got in their house to create a model. Again, you'll notice blue's always with yellow, red's always with green. Here, which is what we would normally do in class, we've got our licorice rope, we've got our skewers going through, or our toothpicks, and the gummy bears are the rungs. But you can use anything. You can use different coloured marshmallows, as you can see in the picture below. You can use licorice. You can use tubes. You might even choose to use, I don't know, something from the natural food confectionery or whatever, even snakes, and just chop them up into different colours. World's your oyster. Here, someone's gone to a little bit more trouble and made a standing DNA model, which I think is fantastic. So use whatever you have got at your disposal to make something. I want you, with your assessment, when you submit it, I want you to give yourself a mark. This is just a self-mark to make sure that you've included everything. So did you get 1 out of 4, 2 out of 4, or 4 out of 4? And that's based on, have you got the sugar and phosphate placed in the backbone? Is your nitrogenous bases are the rungs of our ladder? The A matching with T, always the same 2 colours. Have you got them labelled properly? Give yourself a mark, and I can't wait to see your submissions. Talk soon. Bye.